Let me get it started here in a second. Hold on. Things are getting a little cluttered with all the extras this time.
That's cool.
Dave, you're doing a great job, man.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Love you, mean it. Everybody hashtag thanks, Dave, in the live chat.
So what we're seeing here is an example of a solar flare that was sent right past the Earth after Lord Rayel had warned the United Nations not to go forward with dividing Israel. This is a sign in the sun. And that's a quote from a news source.
Okay, so what that video was just a sun spinning around. Like what?
No, we're about to see more. Just continue watching it.
Okay.
A near real-time image of the sun, a boiling ball of plasma. And this, called active region 1302, is blasting away at Earth.
The gun barrel is pointing right at the Earth just about now.
A massive burst of solar particles from this sunspot glanced off Earth yesterday, creating unusually dramatic auroras like these, seen from the space station a few days ago. Experts say Earth is now in the crosshairs, as the revolving sun points AR 1302 our direction. Experts call it the solar storm that won't go away.
All right, go ahead and pause.
We mostly talk about Earth's weather around here, but there is a massive storm.
Just pause it right there. I'm being instructed that we should go to the 11:15 mark. This is when Lord Rayel removes the danger.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
So we don't have to sit through 5 minutes of video.
Okay.
Clark, can I ask, what is the passage when you talked about fire raining down from heaven? There are several passages that talk about that. Which one are you referring to?
Give me one moment. I have to look that up.
Sorry.
All right. Dave, we're going to go to 11:35.
11:35, okay. It's kind of screwy. As soon as I take it off screen, you tell me to go to a different timestamp. Okay, 11:35 coming up.
You have to bear with us. We're all over the place tonight.
Yes, we are.
Doing a great
job.
job.
And I like it. We're in the trenches.
So Revelation 8, verse 7.
I feel like I'm getting a sermon right now. Are you sure they got the timestamp right?
That's the timestamp out. Well, excuse me. It said 11:15.
Okay. I guess this is where hours later a particular. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hours later, in a spectacular display of power, Lord Rayel removes the danger. Okay. Do you want to?
That's pretty much where we started now.
Yeah. Do you want to explain how that is?
I believe it needs more. I believe it needs more context. If we can just keep on playing it just a little bit further.
Okay.
No, it appears to be ending right there. Yeah.
Could I?
Okay.
Would everybody mind if I just read the passage we're talking about?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Revelation 8:7.
So I'll start at verse 1.
You're talking about raining fire from the sky.
Right. Thank you. Cool. And when he broke the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. And another angel came and stood at the altar, holding a golden censer, and much incense was given to him, that he might add it to the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints went up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer, and he filled it with the fire of the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there followed peals of thunder, and sounds, and flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. And the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound them. And the first sounded, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. And the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. And a third of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. And then it goes on to the third angel and so on. Just wanted to read that.
You've read far beyond what I was talking about, but if we're going to be specific with verse 7, the first trumpet sounded, and I'm just summarizing, there came hail mixed with fire, mixed with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the grass was burned up. So we're talking about all these events occurring within that 7-year period, and it is occurring. Fires are appearing all over the world. There's fire raining down from the sky. There's waters turning to blood. These things have all been occurring over the past 7 years. Now, and if you're going to interpret the context differently than the way things are actually occurring now, that's your prerogative. But it's undeniable that these things which I've mentioned, which this verse mentions, are occurring now and have been occurring for the past 7 years.
I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you if I can. Again, I think we need to be very, very clear about this. There is a difference between what the text says and how someone interprets it later. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with interpreting something differently later, right? Again, the New Testament authors did this all the time. What I am saying, though, is that if we're looking back at the text in Revelation chapter 8, there is a certain authorial intent that is meant there. And we have to respect that authorial intent and understand it before we can come to it later. Now, when you say I read past the context or read past that verse, the reason that I read past that verse is because there is a context associated with Revelation 8:7. And so by doing so, I want everybody to hear what that context is. Again, if you want to reinterpret that differently than what the original writer of the book of Revelation meant, that's fine. New Testament authors did that all the time. I'll still disagree with both the New Testament authors and with you, but you can do that.
Well,
there's nothing
I'd like to
from
explain.
a biblical standpoint. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
We're going to give you a rebuttal, but then after you say what you want to say back, there's 2 more points that I want to make sure that we get on to that I think are the most important, and I want to make sure that we get time in for those. So go ahead and say what you need to say back, but keep it kind of brief so that we can move to the next what I think are the most important takeaways here.
Right. Okay. So if I may respond, the way that we interpret prophecy is not simply face value of the text, because according to the events which the apostle spoke of, which the things that he saw were not actually the things that are going to happen, but the way that he perceived them happening with his 2,000-year-old eyes, seeing the way things are happening, all crammed together in a short amount of time. And he's trying to write these things down, or trying to relay these things down so somebody else can write them. These things were interpreted as they were being written. So you have to understand that this is from a 2,000-year-old perspective. It's condensed. The events which occur over a great deal of time are condensed into small chapters and verses as to what you see today. It's been retranslated over and over and over again. How many years? we're seeing the effects of that now. And to add on top of that, we have Christians who interpret these events in a certain timeline that they must occur in this particular order, when it doesn't say anywhere in the book of Revelation that these things are going to occur in a particular order. It just says that these are the things that he saw as they had happened according to the way that he interpreted them. So
okay,
we can't expect it to be 100% verifiable.
Well, I don't think we're going to agree on this.
Sorry, Kyle, I do need. I'm sorry. I do need to say something. One.
Okay, well, just let's make it.
Yeah, I'll make it very, very quick. Sorry, but this is very important. There is something called apocalyptic genre, right? It's much older than the book of Revelation is. So to understand the book of Revelation, one must understand books like Daniel and other apocalyptic literature that stems from the 2nd century and probably a little bit earlier. That's number one. Number two, this book has not been translated and retranslated in the sense that you're referring to it. We have the manuscripts from 250 and on. And so when someone comes to the New Testament text or the Old Testament text, please watch my textual criticism series. They don't look at all the English translations that have come before. They disregard them, right? In a sense, they're coming at the Greek New Testament and the manuscripts themselves and making a new translation based on what we know about linguistics, both Greek and Hebrew, and of course Aramaic as well for the Old Testament.
Okay, now let's talk about an instance where Lord Rayel didn't quite get it right. We've talked about where you say that he's fulfilled all these prophecies. What's the deal with the asteroid that was supposed to hit?
Oh, you're speaking about the asteroid mentioned on the most recent episode that you did?
Yes.
Now that was taken out of context. Nobody actually said that was going to occur on the date that people inferred. It was a possibility that it could have happened. It didn't happen. But there was no prediction from Lord Rayel, and there was no prediction from his clergy that it was actually going to happen the way that people interpreted or thought that they would, just the way that Michael had said it on your previous episode.
Okay, well, so this is a good way to kind of clear the air, I guess. So will you take us through what that that context that was said in, and the circumstances that that was kind of brought up?
Bringing up the possibility that God's wrath could strike us all down at any moment is not unusual in our group. We bring these kinds of things up all the time. If we're going to make a solid prediction, it's going to be clear. This was not a solid prediction. It was not made that clear. It was just another example of something that could happen, and that's the way that it was brought up. I asked for clarity.
But you have the guy that's going to do it.
No,
you have the guy that's going to do it in the group.
I could predict tomorrow there possibly could be an earthquake. So what?
It was on Facebook.
But he has Jesus.
It was on Facebook. You're talking about Facebook. You're not talking about Twitter. Lord Rayel did not tweet anything about that. Okay.
My point is, can't you? That's not my point. My point is, couldn't you have cleared that up? Like, why are you having to guess what the wrath that could happen when you have the guy that's supposed to be here doing the wrath right there amongst you?
Yeah, Clark. If I'm psychic or if I have divine knowledge. Wait. If I have divine knowledge, if I'm Jesus and I know it's going to have an earthquake tomorrow or not, I wouldn't make it probabilistically. I'm not going to say on a tweet, "Hey, tomorrow I predict there might possibly be an earthquake." What would be the point to that? That has no predictive ability. That says absolutely nothing. Okay. That's stated something that we all know. There's a possibility of an earthquake. Anybody can say that.
And you have him right there. You have
here's the thing. You guys are bombarding me with questions and not allowing me to answer. Let me answer one of these questions at a time, please.
It's one general question.
Okay. Now let me answer it because I understand.
Let me clarify. Clark, let me clarify our one general question. When you have the guy that's supposed to take the wrath out on you, why are you sitting around guessing what possibilities there could be in terms of punishing this world?
Repeat the question, please. I'm sorry. Why am I guessing?
Jesus is here, correct, to enact wrath on us, right? That's what you said earlier.
No, I never said Jesus, but I understand the